We're all using AI pretty much every day now. But how do we actually grade it? How do we really know if it's helpful or reliable or even safe? Well, today we're going to dive into a totally new and frankly groundbreaking way to put AI to the test.
And this is the big one, isn't it? It's the question on everyone's mind. We can all see how powerful these things are, but how do we actually measure the risks? How do we get under the hood and figure out where it might go wrong before it causes a real problem out in the wild?
So for a long time, the old way of doing things was kind of like giving an AI a written exam. You ask it a bunch of automated questions and see if it knows the facts. But here's the thing. That doesn't tell you anything about how it's going to perform in the messy, unpredictable real world. The new way? It's much more like a driver's road test. You actually put a person in there with the AI to see how it handles real situations.
All right, so let's get into it. The core issue here is what we can call the AI trust problem. And it's simple, really. The way we've been testing these things, it just doesn't give us the whole picture. And without the whole picture, how can we really trust them?
Let's stick with that driving analogy for a second. Imagine you absolutely ace the written part of your driver's test. You know every single rule in the book, backwards and forwards. Great. But does that tell anyone how you're going to handle a sudden traffic jam or a pedestrian who just steps right out into the road? Of course not. And that's exactly the problem with so much AI testing today. It's all theory and almost no practice.
So if the old way is broken, who's building the new one? Who's designing this AI road test? Well, that brings us to the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology. You'll hear them called NIST, and their really ambitious new program, which is called ARIA.
So, NIST is basically the government agency that makes sure our tech is safe and reliable. They set the standards for all kinds of things. And now, they've set their sights on AI, which, when you think about it, makes a whole lot of sense.
And their big solution is this program, ARIA. It stands for Assessing Risks and Impacts of AI. And really, the most important part is right there in the name. This isn't just about looking at lines of code. The whole idea is to pair the AI with real people to see what happens in the real world.
Okay, so how'd they do it? Well, the ARIA team came up with 3 really clever scenarios. You could almost think of them like challenges or gauntlets for the AI. Each one was designed to test a very specific kind of AI failure, but in a totally controlled, low-stakes environment.
Now this is where it gets really smart. These tasks might sound simple, but each one is a stand-in, a proxy, for a much bigger, much scarier risk. For example, asking the AI not to give you TV spoilers, that's really a test to see if it can keep a secret, like not leaking sensitive private data. The meal planner, which has to deal with food allergies, that's a proxy for high-stakes health and safety stuff. And the Pathfinder travel app, well, that one's designed to see if the AI just makes things up. It's a phenomenon called confabulation, and it's a huge problem.
But, a test is only as good as the people who are actually running it. And this is where the ARIA team pulled off a total masterstroke. They didn't just bring in one group of people. They brought in 2 very different groups of humans, which gave them this incredible 360-degree view of how the AI was actually performing.
So it all breaks down into this 3-step process. First up, you've got your basic model testing. That's all automated, just checking the fundamentals. Then comes the fun part. Red teaming. This is where you have experts who are intentionally trying to break the AI, to push past its rules. And finally, you have field testing, which is where everyday people just use the AI normally, like they would in real life.
And I love this part. Just look at the instructions they gave the red teamers. It's so blunt. Your objective is to break its guardrails. They were literally told, go break this thing. Find its weaknesses, push it until it fails. It's the ultimate stress test for its safety features. Okay, now compare that to what they told the field testers. It's a night and day difference. They were just told, hey, plan a trip. Use the app normally, just like you would if you were actually going somewhere. And that contrast is absolutely crucial because it lets you see how the AI behaves both when it's under attack and during normal, everyday use.
So you do all this testing, then what? What's the output? Well, you don't just get a simple pass or fail grade. Nope. The ARIA team created something way more powerful, a visual report card that actually maps out an AI's specific strengths and, more importantly, its weaknesses.
And it's called COREX. That stands for the Contextual Robustness Index. And honestly, this is the heart of the entire system. It's a tool that takes all that data, from the red teamers, the regular users, the expert reviewers, all of it, and boils it down into one easy-to-understand visual that they call a risk tree.
And here's what it looks like. This is a Corex tree. See, instead of just a single number, like B+, it gives you a whole detailed map of the risks. You can see that big score right at the top, yeah? But the really powerful part is that you can drill down and see exactly where the problems are.
And this is where you really see the magic. Take a look at this example for an AI they called Application A. The automated tests, they found almost no risk, a score of just 0.72. But then, the red team got a hold of it, and boom, the risk score shoots all the way up to 2.88. This is proof positive that without that human road test, you would have completely missed the biggest problems.
And here's another really fascinating layer to this. The tool lets you compare what the users thought was happening with what the expert reviewers found when they actually analyzed the conversations. And get this, in this case, the experts saw a way higher risk, 3.52, than the red teamers themselves even noticed. That tells you something huge. Some of these risks are so subtle that a normal person might not even spot them.
So, what's the bottom line here? What this ARIA pilot really shows us is a powerful new path forward for how we grade AI. We're moving away from a simple pass-fail score and toward a much deeper, more diagnostic understanding of how these systems actually behave.
So here are the big takeaways. First, this moves us way beyond a simple grade. Second, it brilliantly combines hard data from experts with the real-world experiences of actual users. And what that does is create a totally transparent risk profile that shows developers exactly where they need to fix things. It gives us a real practical path to building AI that isn't just powerful, but is also genuinely safe and trustworthy.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Just imagine, what if every single AI tool we used, from the chatbot on your phone to your car's navigation system, what if they all came with a clear, easy-to-read report card just like this one? How would that change everything? How we build them, how we regulate them, and maybe most importantly, how we choose which AI we're willing to bring into our lives.